So talking some more about Amitabha. Yesterday I was saying that they talk about 4 principal causes for rebirth in Sukhavati. The aspiration to be born there, visualizing the Amitabha Buddha and his Pure Land, and avoiding negative actions, creating positive actions, and then practicing the general Mahayana teachings and generating bodhicitta. Yeah, so that all fits in with general practice. If somebody comes here and says, what do I need to do to practice the Dharma? I'm going to tell them study, and, especially the Mahayana teachings, and then do purification and do practices to create merit. That's always the foundation for everybody when they start practice. And then actually it never goes away. You continue to do that all the way to enlightenment. You never stop studying, you never stop purifying, and you never stop creating merit until you become a Buddha. So if you're doing any of those, and then not only studying, but thinking about the teachings, meditating on them, then you're doing what you need to be doing. You don't need to be worried about it. Then they also say that there's 3 kinds of accumulations to do in the Amitabha practice. So one is to have confidence in in Sukhavati and in Amitabha's promise to support and protect beings who recite his name, as well as confidence in our own Buddha nature, and confidence that our Buddha nature, or the emptiness of our mind, is the same as the emptiness of Amitabha's mind. So this is something that needs some unpacking, okay? So to have confidence in Amitabha and that and his aspiration, and that reciting his name will, be good for us and will bring beneficial results. We have to understand this properly. It's not just, there's Amitabha sitting 3 clouds up and 2 over, and we pray, please Amitabha, take me to your Pure Land, and then we go about our normal daily things, bugging everybody and creating negativity, and then thinking, but Amitabha's on my side and he's going to save me. No, I think here what it's talking about, that kind of faith and aspiration connected with Amitabha is it's referring to having really deep refuge in the Buddha Dharma Sangha. Yeah, so having refuge, trust, confidence, especially in the Four Noble Truths. To have some good understanding of the 4 truths, how we create the cause for rebirth in samsara, how we create the cause to get out of samsara, and then especially what His Holiness says, when we take refuge, the real refuge as true cessations, supported by true paths. And so it's not, just having faith and confidence in Amitabha as like a person, but who is Amitabha really? Yeah, Amitabha isn't, grandpa or grandma or, whoever it is. Amitabha is the manifestation of bodhicitta and wisdom. He's the manifestation of the 3 higher trainings, the 6 perfections. Okay? So it's not having faith in a person who's going to do something, but faith in these qualities. Yeah? And people who have these qualities can definitely benefit us. So we have faith in the Buddhas that already exist, in the Bodhisattvas, but also to see that we have to have faith in our ability to develop these qualities in ourselves. Yeah, because if we have the mentality that I'm just little old me and I can't do anything, and somehow everybody else has the Buddha nature, but I got left out when it was distributed. If we have that kind of self-image, then we're creating so many obstacles in our own Dharma practice. Yeah, and those obstacles aren't coming from outside, they're coming from our self-image. Yeah, and so to really have this connection with Amitabha, we have to have some understanding of our own potential, our own Buddha nature, that our mind is empty, naturally empty of inherent existence. And that emptiness of inherent existence is what allows us to change and to become a Buddha. And this emptiness of inherent existence of our minds is the same as the emptiness of inherent existence of Amitabha's mind. There's absolutely no difference in them. Yeah? There's a difference in the mind that is the basis of that emptiness. Amitabha's mind, that is empty, but Amitabha's mind is a Buddha's mind. The basis of the emptiness of our mind is a sentient being's mind. So there's a difference in the basis, but in the mode of existence, they're both empty. Okay? And then a second thing is that in terms of our Buddha nature, is that the defilements are not an inherent part of our mind. They're not inherently part of our conventional, clear, and cognizant mind. They're not an inherent part of the ultimate nature of our mind, its emptiness. Yeah, and so to have some feeling for that and some confidence for that, because then we have the feeling of, oh, I can eliminate the afflictions. Yeah, the fundamental nature of my mind is pure. The afflictions are not embedded in the nature of the mind. Yeah, there are antidotes that exist to the afflictions, and I can practice those antidotes, develop them in my mind, develop that wisdom, eliminate the afflictions, and then my mind will be exactly like Amitabha's mind in terms of our realizations. And then the empty nature of my mind will be the empty nature of a Buddha, just like the emptiness of Amitabha's mind is the emptiness of, the mind of a Buddha. Okay? So cultivating this kind of understanding as a background to practicing Amitabha really makes your practice juicy. It makes your practice go forward. Whereas if you have a very simplistic attitude or understanding of who Amitabha is and who you are in relationship to Amitabha, then I think that you're putting in obstacles. Yeah. For people, like I was saying, maybe for people who are really not so interested in serious Buddhist practice, or for people like in ancient times who were illiterate, who didn't have access to the texts in order to gain deeper kind of wisdom, for them, yes, seeing Amitabha in this way is beneficial for them. And I'm not going to go around telling them you have it all wrong, because they have faith, they're doing something beneficial, they're trying to abandon negativity and create virtue, and that's certainly admirable, yeah, as is their faith and devotion. But I'm explaining something else to you because I think you can manage this deeper way of looking at Amitabha. Okay, and so there, when we talk about reciting Amitabha's name, whether in Chinese you're saying Namo Amitofo, or whether you're saying Om Amideva Hri, or Om Amitabha Hri Soha, whatever you're saying, you're saying Amitabha's name, then you realize that saying that name is making you think about your own potential and making you think about the Buddha's qualities and what the connection is between your Buddha nature and the Buddha's qualities. And that will lead you, when you go deeply into that reflection, of course, into thinking about the determination to be free of samsara, bodhicitta, wisdom realizing emptiness, everything else. Okay? So that deep thing of, reciting Amitabha Buddha's name is like, well, who is Amitabha? Okay? And that's a very profound question. You can also, when you're reciting Amitabha's name, the way the Zen folks recommend doing it, and I think this is quite good too, is who is reciting Amitabha's name? Yeah, who? So that gets you into a whole other discussion too. Okay, then the second accumulation is again aspirations, the determination to be born in Sukhavati, confidence in one's pure mind in order to be in the position to liberate yourself and liberate others. So here we're talking about bodhicitta. Why are we doing the Amitabha's Buddha practice? If we're just doing it because we're afraid of being born in the lower realms, that's a good motivation, to avoid rebirth in the lower realms and have a good rebirth. But here, to really get our mind in the shape where we can benefit if we're, benefit a lot if we're born in the Pure Land, is, to have the bodhicitta motivation, and want to free ourselves, not just so that we'll be free, but so that we are in a better position to be of more and more benefit to other living beings. Okay? So expanding our motivation. His Holiness always says, some people, they're just trying to be born in the Pure Land because to protect themselves. But, and that's good. But we're not saying we want anybody to suffer, certainly not. But, to really be in sync with what Amitabha is doing, to have just profound respect and regard for bodhicitta and an aspiration to generate it, and taking some steps, to slowly generate bodhicitta. And as His Holiness also says, bodhicitta is not difficult to understand, but it's difficult to generate because it takes a long time, and we have to really, rooting out this self-centered mind is not quick, cheap, and easy. So, having that perseverance to stick with it and do it. And then the third was to practice, okay? So, the first was having confidence, then having aspiration or the correct motivation. And then the third is to actually do the practice. So, this often is described as just reciting Amitabha Buddha's name. As we'll see, it's not just, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha. Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha, Namo Amitabha. Okay, done. It's not that. That that the recitation of Amitabha's name becomes your object for developing single-pointed concentration. Okay? So it could be just the sound of the mantra, the sound of the recitation of Amitabha, that becomes your object of meditation. Or the visualized image of Amitabha. So we've been studying about constant, serenity. So instead of maybe Shakyamuni Buddha, then the visualized image of Amitabha in the space in front. Or if you're doing a self-generation practice, the visualization of yourself as Amitabha becomes your object of single-pointedness. And therefore, to use this meditation, to develop single-pointedness, to develop bodhicitta, to develop wisdom. Okay, so it's not simply saying Namo Amitofo and then drinking tea and watching television and waiting for Amitabha to, make the plane reservation and take us to the Pure Land. Okay, it's like, it's our mental transformation that takes us to the Pure Land. Okay? Okay. So I think that's enough on this right now, and we should go into talking about the practice itself.
Just a question about using a mantra as an object of meditation. Can you develop serenity that way?
It seems so. Yeah.
And would it be the mental, auditory?
It's still an image in the mind. Yeah, because you're reciting it in your mind. Yeah, you can recite it out loud too, but particularly it's the mental recitation. Okay. And also, when we do the chanting on Tuesdays and Saturdays, the way that it's usually done in a Chinese temple is you alternate sitting sessions with walking sessions. And the walking sessions, you're always just going in straight lines up and down. We kind of, curve here and curve there. I get a little seasick sometimes. There's so many curves. But usually it's just, up and back because they have the roll. You do it with your seats as the rows, and then you go back and forth, that way. And that's something to relax your body, relax your mind, be able to bring the recitation more into focus when your senses are operating. But then, you sit down and then you start doing it really, really fast. Amitofo, 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 Amitofo. You do it out loud really, really fast as you can for a while, not just a few minutes, but for a while, so that your mind has no opportunity to think any other thought, because you have to focus so intensely on getting the words Amitabha out of your mouth because it's going so fast. Yeah? And then they'll hit the wooden fish, and then you're seated already by this time, and then it's complete silence. And because you've just been focusing on the name and saying it for so long, and there's been no other thought in your mind, when there's silence, then your mind is just like space. Yeah, and that's very good for then meditating. Okay?